The Navy's newest vessel arrived in Norfolk for the first time today. USNS Robert E. Seminack is commissioned. It will become the USS Robert E. Seminack. Jason Walsh takes us to today's arrival.
Elon Musk has never been one to shy away from bold declarations. And when he turned his attention to the newest marvel developed by the United States Navy, the world listened with a mix of awe and intrigue. The announcement centered on a next-generation aircraft carrier, a warship so advanced in design, power, and defensive capabilities that Musk suggested it could not be stopped. The sheer weight of those words rippled across military circles, defense industries, and geopolitical discussions worldwide, as the idea of an unstoppable floating fortress conjured images of a future where naval dominance could be utterly redefined. Before we start, smash the like and subscribe buttons for more updates. The foundation of this revelation lies in the continuous evolution of naval engineering. Aircraft carriers have always been the symbols of maritime supremacy, the floating airfields that allow nations to project power far beyond their shores. From the earliest carriers that sailed during World War II to the nuclear-powered giants of the Cold War and beyond, each era of naval innovation has pushed the boundaries of what is possible. But according to Musk, this new carrier is not just another evolutionary step. It represents a leap so profound that it reimagines what an aircraft carrier can be in both function and resilience. Much of the excitement stems from speculation about the technologies that underpin such a vessel. Musk, with his experience in aerospace and energy innovation, is well acquainted with cutting-edge systems, and his enthusiasm suggested that the Navy's new creation blends unprecedented levels of automation, energy systems, and defense mechanisms. One can envision a warship equipped with directed energy weapons, railgun systems capable of launching projectiles at hypersonic speeds, and advanced electromagnetic shielding that renders traditional missile attacks nearly obsolete. The notion of an unstoppable carrier gains traction when paired with the idea of weapons that outpace anything currently fielded by adversaries. Beyond its offensive capacity, defense forms the heart of Musk's claim. For a carrier to be unstoppable, it must neutralize every conceivable threat: submarines lurking beneath the waves, missiles launched from thousands of miles away, and aircraft swarming overhead. Musk hinted at layered defenses that could include AI-driven targeting systems capable of detecting, tracking, and intercepting incoming threats with unmatched precision. Imagine a carrier shielded by a dome of protection, missiles intercepted mid-flight by autonomous drones, torpedoes neutralized before they near the hull, and stealth systems that make the ship nearly invisible to radar. In such a scenario, the idea of unstoppable transforms from hyperbole into technical possibility. Equally important is the propulsion and energy system driving such a vessel. Traditional nuclear-powered carriers already generate vast amounts of energy, but the next step may involve compact fusion reactors or advanced nuclear systems that create essentially limitless onboard power. With this energy, the ship could operate railguns, lasers, and electromagnetic launch systems for aircraft, without the constraints that have plagued earlier attempts at these technologies. Unlimited power translates into sustained combat readiness, ensuring the carrier can project force indefinitely without resupply, which further strengthens its claim to being unstoppable. The implications of launching aircraft from such a carrier are staggering. Electromagnetic catapults, already tested in modern carriers, could be refined to send next-generation aircraft into the sky with unmatched efficiency. These aircraft could be unmanned stealth drones capable of long-range strikes, reconnaissance, or even electronic warfare missions. The carrier itself becomes the command hub of a fleet not limited to its own decks, but extended through swarms of autonomous aerial, surface, and underwater vehicles. The Navy, with this platform, transforms into a multi-domain powerhouse operating seamlessly across the sea, sky, and digital battlefield. Musk's excitement about this revelation also stems from the broader strategic consequences. In an age where military competition between global powers intensifies, the creation of such a carrier would cement American naval dominance for decades. Nations spend fortunes developing anti-carrier strategies, from hypersonic missiles to advanced submarine systems, but the prospect of a warship that cannot be neutralized alters the calculus entirely. It is not just a tactical asset, but a geopolitical statement. a reminder to allies and rivals alike that the United States intends to maintain unmatched control over the world's oceans. There is also the psychological weight of such a revelation. Aircraft carriers are not only military machines, but also political symbols. When one sails into a region, it sends a message louder than any speech or negotiation. To announce that this carrier is unstoppable magnifies that message tenfold. It tells the world that American innovation has produced a deterrent beyond challenge, a leviathan that can stand in the face of any modern threat. Musk, known for framing technological advancements as civilization-defining, cast this as one such moment, where the boundaries of human ingenuity confront the chaos of global conflict. Speculation also swirls about the role of artificial intelligence in this design. Musk has often warned of the risks of AI while simultaneously pushing its development through his own companies. The Navy's carrier, he suggested, may rely on AI-driven command systems to manage the countless variables of naval warfare. Unlike human operators, AI could process threats from all vectors simultaneously, prioritizing responses with precision beyond human capability. From automated drone squadrons to real-time battlefield analysis, the ship could essentially act as a thinking entity, adapting in milliseconds to changing conditions. This infusion of intelligence would be the key to ensuring its survivability and effectiveness in modern conflict. Beyond the battlefield, the carrier reflects the merging of civilian and military innovation. Musk's involvement, at least as an observer, signals how technologies pioneered in private industry, from reusable rockets to advanced battery systems, may find their way into naval platforms. SpaceX demonstrated the possibilities of vertical integration, rapid prototyping, and cost reduction in aerospace, and similar philosophies may now inform naval construction. A carrier built with modular systems, rapidly upgradable components, and advanced manufacturing techniques could evolve faster than traditional warships, ensuring it never becomes obsolete. The economic dimension is equally profound. Developing such a vessel would require billions in investment, but it also represents a boon to shipyards, engineers, and scientists across the nation. Every dollar spent fuels advancements not only in military hardware, but also in industries with civilian applications. Technologies developed for electromagnetic catapults or energy storage, for example, could cascade into commercial shipping, aviation, or renewable energy. The unstoppable carrier then becomes more than a military asset. It becomes a catalyst for technological progress on a national scale. Musk's framing of the carrier as unstoppable carries cultural weight as well. In an era when public fascination with technology often blurs the line between science fiction and reality, the idea of a ship that cannot be defeated resonates with the imagination. It evokes comparisons to legendary vessels of fiction, floating fortresses brimming with power, untouchable in their might. By revealing its existence to a wider audience, Musk tapped into that cultural current, transforming a naval asset into a symbol of futuristic aspiration. From a technical perspective, one cannot overlook the challenges such a ship must have overcome. Seaworthiness, the balance between massive systems and the need for stability, the integration of next-generation weapons with traditional naval architecture. These are not trivial hurdles. The mere fact that the Navy has succeeded in building such a platform suggests breakthroughs in materials, science, automation, and systems integration. Composite hulls, radar-absorbing surfaces, and modular weapon bays may all play roles in making the vessel both durable and adaptable. The achievement itself signals an engineering triumph of monumental scale. For the sailors who will serve aboard it, life on such a carrier may also be redefined. Automation could reduce crew requirements, shifting the balance from manpower to machine power. Living quarters might reflect a more technologically integrated environment, with augmented reality systems for training, AI assistance for coordination, and advanced medical facilities powered by real-time monitoring. The ship is not just a machine of war, but a futuristic ecosystem designed for efficiency, resilience, and adaptability in every aspect of operation. The global naval landscape now faces a dramatic shift. Rivals may scramble to develop counters, but the sheer scope of the technologies involved makes replication difficult. To match such a vessel requires not only resources, but also the integration of multiple industries at the cutting edge of science and engineering. For adversaries, the challenge lies not just in creating a similar ship, but in developing entirely new doctrines of warfare to address the presence of a carrier that cannot be stopped. The ripple effect touches every navy on Earth, reshaping strategies, budgets, and long-term planning. At the heart of Musk's revelation lies the theme of inevitability. Human history is marked by innovations that tip the balance of power. The longbow, the steam engine, the aircraft, the nuclear submarine. Each redefined the terms of conflict, setting the stage for a new era. The unstoppable carrier, if Musk's description holds true, stands as the latest in this lineage. It embodies the fusion of human ambition and technical mastery, projecting power not only across the oceans but also across the imagination of all who consider its implications. As the news reverberated, one truth became clear: the age of naval warfare is entering uncharted waters. With this carrier, the Navy has not simply built a bigger ship, it has created a new paradigm. The oceans, long seen as the vast chessboard of global conflict, now host a piece unlike any other, a vessel that shifts the entire strategy of the game. Musk's words served as a reminder that behind the steel and circuitry lies a vision of the future, one where the boundaries of what can be stopped and what cannot are redrawn by human ingenuity. The announcement that Elon Musk made about the United States Navy unveiling an aircraft carrier so advanced that it cannot be stopped set off a surge of curiosity, analysis, and imagination across the globe. While much of the focus immediately centered on the technological marvel of the vessel itself, the broader picture stretches far wider. A warship of such magnitude alters not only military considerations, but also the very fabric of geopolitics, diplomacy, global economics, and the philosophy of power projection in the modern world. To understand its full scope, one must look beyond the steel decks and weapons systems and delve into how such a creation reshapes the balance of human civilization on multiple levels. The domain to consider is the geopolitical environment that frames the arrival of this ship. Global tensions in recent decades have increasingly shifted toward the seas. Nations have vied for influence in contested waters, with shipping routes in the South China Sea, Arctic passages, and Indian Ocean trade corridors becoming flashpoints of contention. The unveiling of an unstoppable carrier places an entirely new actor into these scenarios. When a warship cannot be sunk, threatened, or neutralized by conventional means, it becomes a tool of influence not just in combat but in peacetime posturing. Sailing into disputed waters with such a vessel would render all opposing threats meaningless, tipping negotiations and disputes before they ever escalate to open conflict. It essentially arms diplomacy with an indomitable presence, ensuring that wherever this carrier sails, it becomes the dominant voice in any discussion. On the diplomatic stage, such a development changes the tone of alliances. Allies of the United States may view the creation of this carrier as a renewed guarantee of American military support and stability. Countries that rely on U.S. security commitments, from NATO members in Europe to allies in the Pacific, would see the carrier as a shield that can never be broken, a reassurance that their security interests will remain protected, no matter what adversaries may attempt. This could tighten bonds within alliances, encouraging smaller states to deepen their cooperation and participation, knowing that ultimate security backstop now floats in the seas. At the same time, rivals may feel cornered by the presence of a tool they cannot counter, potentially leading them to adopt more aggressive or unconventional strategies to offset their perceived vulnerability. The ripple effect extends deeply into the economics of defense industries worldwide. Modern militaries spend staggering sums developing anti-ship systems designed specifically to neutralize aircraft carriers. Entire weapons programs, from long-range cruise missiles to hypersonic glide vehicles, have been conceived around the concept of overwhelming or outmaneuvering carrier defenses. The emergence of an unstoppable carrier renders much of this research obsolete. Nations may be forced to rethink defense budgets, discarding investments that are suddenly inadequate. Industries that have relied on the demand for anti-carrier weaponry may find themselves in turmoil, while new opportunities emerge in technologies aimed at countering a different form of supremacy. The economics of defense is as much about adaptation as creation, and the unstoppable carrier represents a fulcrum that could tilt the entire global defense market in a new direction. The psychological factor cannot be overstated. Warfare, strategy, and deterrence are not merely contests of machines, but also contests of perception. When an enemy believes they cannot win, they often refrain from fighting altogether. The unstoppable carrier embodies this principle on a grand scale. Adversaries, upon seeing it enter contested waters, would know that conventional attacks are futile. This may deter open war, but could simultaneously encourage opponents to pursue asymmetrical strategies: cyber warfare, sabotage, economic disruption, or space-based conflicts. Thus, the unstoppable carrier not only alters the face of naval warfare, but also redirects the vectors of conflict into other, less predictable domains. Technological spillover is another domain profoundly impacted by such a warship. Naval innovations have historically led to civilian applications that reshape industries far removed from the battlefield. Radar, GPS, and nuclear propulsion all found their origins in military needs before transforming civilian life. The technologies required to create an unstoppable carrier, advanced power generation, artificial intelligence coordination, electromagnetic defense systems, and autonomous vehicle integration, are bound to migrate outward into industries like energy, transportation, and communications. Imagine commercial cargo fleets powered by scaled-down versions of the carrier's reactors, or civilian aviation adopting electromagnetic launch systems to reduce runway length and fuel consumption. The military achievement cascades into civilian progress, shaping the technological future of society. The ship also provokes questions about the philosophy of deterrence in the 21st century. During the Cold War, deterrence rested largely on the threat of mutual destruction through nuclear weapons. In the present age, where the lines of conflict include cyber domains, artificial intelligence, and space, deterrence is more complex. The unstoppable carrier represents a form of conventional deterrence so absolute that it challenges existing doctrines. It signals not only the ability to strike, but the impossibility of retaliation. This raises ethical considerations as well. How does a nation wield such power responsibly? The vessel embodies both the promise of stability and the risk of escalation depending on how it is deployed in international contexts. From a strategic perspective, the unstoppable carrier changes naval doctrine itself. Traditional fleets rely on a layered system of escorts: destroyers, cruisers, submarines, and supply ships designed to shield carriers from attack. But if the carrier itself is impervious, the nature of the fleet can evolve. Resources once devoted to protecting the carrier could be redirected toward expanding offensive capabilities or logistical range. Fleets may become leaner, more specialized, or more aggressive in their deployment. The Navy, with such a tool, gains the flexibility to reimagine its operational strategies on a global scale. The cultural and symbolic dimensions are equally striking. Aircraft carriers already stand as national icons, representing both military power and technological prowess. An unstoppable carrier, however, transcends symbolism. It becomes a myth made real, a physical embodiment of invulnerability. In history, civilizations have revered symbols of invincibility: fortresses, swords, or mythical creatures that could not be defeated. This ship inherits that mantle for the modern age, embedding itself into popular imagination not only as a war machine, but as a cultural artifact of human ingenuity. Such symbols often carry weight far beyond their physical presence, influencing the collective psychology of both citizens and adversaries alike. The naval community, from strategists to sailors, will grapple with the new identity this carrier creates. For centuries, seafarers have lived under the constant knowledge of vulnerability. Ships, no matter how grand, have always faced the risk of sinking, whether by torpedo, storm, or fire. The unstoppable carrier challenges that tradition. Serving aboard it may instill a sense of security and pride unlike anything in naval history, but it also places immense responsibility on its crew. Operating a vessel that cannot be destroyed demands a mindset prepared for missions of unmatched consequence. For the carrier becomes not merely a tool, but a decisive factor in global stability. This warship also reframes the concept of naval dominance in space and cyberspace. With its advanced AI and data-driven systems, the carrier may act as a floating hub of digital command, orchestrating cyber operations alongside physical missions. Its impenetrability extends beyond steel armor to digital defense, shielding it from hacking or electronic warfare. It becomes not just a vessel of the seas, but a fortress of information, a central node in the web of modern military networks. In parallel, its influence stretches into orbit, coordinating with satellites and space-based assets to create a seamless integration of sea and space power. The unstoppable carrier, therefore, represents the merging of domains, a warship not confined to the oceans, but operating as part of a planetary defense architecture. For adversaries, the arrival of such a vessel creates a profound dilemma. Traditional military strategies rely on balance, on the ability to threaten and counter. An unstoppable carrier erases that balance. Enemies must now decide whether to escalate into new and untested technologies, such as directed energy weapons from space, or to abandon naval confrontation altogether. Some may choose to double down on stealth and subterfuge, developing undersea drones or weapons that bypass direct confrontation. Others may retreat into diplomacy, seeking agreements that curb the use or deployment of such carriers in contested waters. The unstoppable nature of the ship forces adversaries into corners where options are fewer, riskier, and less reliable. The carrier also casts light on the role of leadership in innovation. Musk's revelation illustrates the synergy between private visionaries and government institutions. While the Navy develops its systems with the resources of a nation, innovators like Musk provide frameworks for thinking beyond conventional limits. His framing of the vessel as unstoppable taps into a narrative of progress that is both technological and inspirational. It highlights how leadership, whether in the public or private sphere, shapes the direction of innovation by daring to articulate visions that transcend the ordinary. On the global scale, the unstoppable carrier may ignite a new form of arms race, not in quantity but in quality. In the past, nations sought to match fleets ship for ship, aircraft for aircraft. Now the benchmark has shifted to invulnerability itself. Other nations may rush to develop their own unstoppable systems, whether carriers, submarines, or space-based assets. This competition may drive unprecedented acceleration in technological development, compressing decades of progress into a few short years as nations race to keep pace. The unstoppable carrier thus becomes a catalyst not only for U.S. dominance but for global transformation in military science. The educational and scientific implications cannot be ignored. To create such a vessel requires advances across physics, engineering, materials science, computer science, and beyond. Universities and research institutions feeding into the project must push the boundaries of human knowledge, generating discoveries that ripple outward into civilian life. Students studying energy systems, robotics, or AI may find themselves contributing directly to technologies derived from the carrier. This fusion of education and defense fuels a cycle of innovation that expands the frontiers of human capability. Even the environment becomes part of the discussion. Traditional naval operations rely on vast fuel supplies, creating logistical chains and environmental footprints that extend across the globe. An unstoppable carrier powered by advanced nuclear or fusion systems reduces reliance on fossil fuels, potentially operating for decades without resupply. Its design may incorporate advanced waste management, emissions control, and even systems that protect marine ecosystems. In this way, the vessel may paradoxically represent a greener form of naval presence, aligning military necessity with environmental responsibility. Culturally, the unstoppable carrier might also reshape how societies view their militaries. Citizens often wrestle with the tension between military spending and civilian needs, but a vessel that projects both security and technological progress may shift public perception. Instead of being seen merely as a weapon, the carrier could be embraced as a national achievement, a monument to engineering, science, and determination. In a fragmented world, such symbols have the power to unify societies, rallying them around a shared vision of progress and security. The unveiling of an unstoppable aircraft carrier through Elon Musk's revelation is not only about a single naval asset, but about what it represents in terms of human ambition, the philosophy of defense, and the progression of civilization into uncharted territories of control and dominance. The existence of such a vessel can be seen as a convergence point, where centuries of maritime tradition meet the cutting edge of 21st century innovation. To expand upon its significance without repetition, it is necessary to explore even further reaching implications. Considering aspects that stretch into space, culture, economics of global trade, historical resonance, and the subtle reshaping of human identity in the presence of seemingly invincible creations. One of the most profound consequences of an unstoppable carrier lies in its effect on global trade routes. Oceans are the arteries of commerce, carrying oil, minerals, manufactured goods, and agricultural products between continents. For centuries, the vulnerability of shipping lanes has shaped the strategies of nations. Piracy, blockades, and the looming threat of hostile navies have always haunted the world's maritime commerce. The arrival of a vessel that cannot be stopped means the U.S. Navy can guarantee the safety of trade in contested waters like never before. For global corporations, insurers, and shipping companies, this translates into unprecedented stability. Insurance premiums for fleets operating under the umbrella of such protection could drop, while nations dependent on vulnerable trade routes could see their economies revitalized by the newfound security. In this sense, the carrier's existence influences not just warfare, but the daily flow of the global economy. Furthermore, the unstoppable carrier ushers in a shift in how nations conceptualize sovereignty in maritime zones. International law, particularly the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, governs territorial waters and exclusive economic zones. Yet enforcement has always been tied to a nation's ability to physically patrol and defend these regions. With the unstoppable carrier, enforcement transcends mere presence. It becomes an absolute guarantee. Coastal nations aligned with the U.S. may find their sovereignty more secure, while rivals may perceive their maritime claims undermined by the carrier's undeniable superiority. The result could be the redrawing of the psychological map of the seas, where control is not about treaties alone, but about the shadow cast by an indomitable naval force. The philosophical dimensions of this development are equally striking. For centuries, humanity has recognized that no creation is beyond destruction. The Titanic sank despite claims of unsinkability. Mighty fortresses fell to determined sieges. Powerful empires crumbled under pressure. The unstoppable carrier, however, challenges this narrative by embodying the concept of near-absolute resilience. If it is truly impervious to conventional attack, then it redefines human confidence in technology. It encourages societies to imagine that invulnerability is no longer a myth, but a tangible achievement. This shift reverberates through collective psychology, altering how people perceive the limits of human mastery over nature and conflict. Religious and cultural interpretations also emerge in the face of such power. Throughout history, societies have infused invincible weapons or fortresses with spiritual significance. In ancient epics, gods bestowed unbreakable shields upon warriors. In medieval times, relics and divine blessings were thought to protect armies from harm. In the modern era, technology assumes that role. The unstoppable carrier could be seen as a secular icon of human transcendence over vulnerability, inspiring both awe and fear. For cultures that place symbolic importance on balance and humility, such a vessel may appear as a hubristic overreach, a machine that challenges the natural order. Thus, the unstoppable carrier is not just a strategic entity, but also a cultural Rorschach test, reflecting the values, fears, and beliefs of those who interpret it. Another arena transformed by the carrier is humanitarian response. Naval vessels have long doubled as platforms for disaster relief, bringing supplies, medical aid, and infrastructure to regions devastated by earthquakes, tsunamis, and hurricanes. The unstoppable carrier, with its immense power generation capabilities and autonomy, could revolutionize this role. Imagine a ship capable of supplying electricity to entire cities cut off from the grid, purifying millions of gallons of water daily, or launching fleets of drones to deliver medicine into inaccessible areas. Its immunity from destruction means it can operate even in hostile or unstable environments, ensuring aid reaches those most in need. This humanitarian potential reframes the carrier not only as a weapon, but as a tool of salvation in times of crisis. In education, the unstoppable carrier becomes a case study for generations of students across disciplines. Engineering curricula will analyze its propulsion systems and energy management. Political science students will debate its role in international relations. Ethicists will grapple with the morality of invulnerability in warfare. It becomes not only a machine, but also a teaching instrument, a focal point for understanding the intersection of technology, power, and society. In this way, The carrier's legacy extends into classrooms worldwide, shaping how young minds approach the challenges of innovation and responsibility. The unstoppable carrier also redefines the meaning of prestige in naval history. For centuries, battleships and carriers were judged by their size, armament, or tonnage. Naval races were competitions in quantity and magnitude, with empires building fleets that symbolized wealth and industrial power. This new vessel, however, shifts the axis of prestige from size to resilience. It is not about how many guns or planes a ship can carry, but about its inability to be destroyed. This changes the narrative of naval power from spectacle to inevitability, ensuring that prestige no longer rests in visible grandeur, but in hidden invulnerability. The arts, too, will be influenced by such a ship. Writers, filmmakers, and visual artists often draw inspiration from technological marvels, embedding them into stories that resonate with audiences. The unstoppable carrier could easily become a cultural icon, depicted in films as the embodiment of invincibility, in novels as the backdrop of intrigue, and in visual art as a symbol of human ingenuity. Just as submarines, stealth aircraft, and spacecraft have captured the artistic imagination, this vessel enters the realm of myth-making in contemporary culture. Its presence inspires narratives that blend reality with speculative possibility, embedding itself into the collective imagination far beyond the naval sphere. Looking to space, the unstoppable carrier may be viewed as a stepping stone. Naval vessels have long served as metaphors for spacecraft. Both are self-contained ecosystems operating in hostile environments. The carrier's breakthroughs in power systems, artificial intelligence, and resilience could be precursors to starships capable of enduring deep space missions. If humanity one day builds vessels that traverse the cosmos, they may owe their existence to the engineering solutions pioneered aboard this ship. In this sense, the unstoppable carrier is not just the pinnacle of naval warfare, but also a prototype for humanity's expansion beyond Earth. If you liked this video, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel. Also, leave your comments below and tell us, what are your thoughts on the Navy's unstoppable aircraft carrier Elon Musk revealed? We want to hear from you. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.